The books, your books, obviously, are in my Airbnb. So that helps too because it gives the authority.
If you could just kind of start out by telling me a little bit about yourself, kind of where you're at in the country and how long you've been in real estate.
Okay. First, my name's Cynthia and previous career as a college professor. So basically, I'm a recovering academic, if you want to think of that way. Been in real estate a little over 25 years ago, 30 years investing. So I got started in the investment role, then went into the real estate agent, became a broker on my own, and I've had my own company now for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
So brokerage, small boutique brokerage, opened from that one to a long-term rental management company, now to short-term rental management company, and an investment company, all related to real estate. So I group them all together to make sure they feed each other. How's that sound?
Perfect. Well, one of the topics that I'd emailed out wanting to talk to people about was investment and working with investors. So your background, as an investor and everything like that is really, I think that's really beneficial to what we're looking for. Tell me, how do you go about finding the investors to work with, or is it more of is it them coming to you?
Well, I think because I have the different companies and I'm doing marketing for the different companies, a lot are coming to me. And when I'm doing the traditional sales of properties, anyone who is looking to, I'm in a vacation resort town, Pensacola Beach, so that helps. And so when I do sell or market for investors, they come to me. As I'm thinking of everybody that I've been working with over the years, that's about how it's worked out. I have also held seminars, regular teacher kind of route, when we could actually have physical in-person seminars. That got a lot of investors, like doing a self-directed IRA or 1031 tax exchange, or getting people involved that have some money sitting around that, well, what do I do with it? Now, since the Airbnb process is happening, where you can not only be on the beach with condos, getting in town, historical homes, things like that are in great locations. So when I have somebody who purchases a home, that would be either long-term rental or short-term rental, I can also provide the rehab part of it and also provide the management part of it. So they can do a one-stop shop, all of that. There's getting people in. One thing which was a byproduct of the Airbnb, which I really wasn't even thinking about it, is people coming into town as guests, then deciding they want to buy something here. So now I advertise up front that I do sell houses for Airbnb, and that has brought me in about a dozen extra sales per year just from guests coming in here.
Right. So, yeah, absolutely. I think those are, personally, we stay in Airbnb places, and, every time we go, when you flip open the book, that the homeowner has provided, there's a couple pages of different realtors or somebody that they've worked with in the past that are in those pamphlets and those informational packets.
And the books, your books, obviously, are in my Airbnb. So that helps too, because it gives the authority. So.
Oh, that's excellent. So you actually have books for the people that are coming in to stay, for them to be able to pick up and.
Yeah, free of charge. Just pick them up and go.
That's excellent. How's that? Have you gotten any, calls back from those? Or?
Yes, I have. Yeah. So again, that was another byproduct until I saw the first thing happen. I said, oh, I have it. So let's go put it in there. And I just say free, take it. And they take them and I replace it. Yeah. So,
well, yeah, no, that's actually, I mean, I don't know, every time my wife and I go on a trip and we're in a place like that, it's always like, man, we should really look into buying one of these ourselves, or, that's the perfect time to start
I have somebody just right now, I mean, actually literally today reserved a place and said, I'm coming into town. I want to look at Airbnbs. Do you know a realtor? And I go, did you read my little description that was in the, because it's also in the description of them coming in that I'm a realtor, but we've already communicated. So the book, it again, I have the digital version of it. That's how to sell. That's just my first one to get to them. But them knowing that I'm just giving them the authority part of it, that the book is there. So the PhD doesn't hurt either,
Right.
so.
Right. How long have you been a member of Authorify?
Well, I rejoined about 3 months ago. I was a member several years ago, and I just dropped off. And then I realized I might as well come back because I really like the book concept. And I like having the lead generation of putting it into all my stuff, with social media and everything like that. So,
right. With your background in teaching, those seminars, I'd imagine, they weren't difficult for you to get into.
Yeah. I've got tons of them. I'm on tons of Zoom. I just don't like doing the Zooms. I really am a very personal. That's the way I taught, and so but I do some of the Zooms. But as soon as we can. Well, Florida, we're pretty open. I mean, still, it's like there's not too many limitations. I could have a small seminar, but I choose not to right now until we get over the hump of this.
Right. So for people that don't have the educational background like you do, what are some of the tips? I think the seminar route is such a great way to get a group of really hot leads in one room together. I mean, you're not going to get a more interested group of people that are ready to go than those ones. Your seminar might just be what sets them, puts them over the hump.
Push them. Yeah.
So,
well, and then also a Facebook group, as far as working with investors, I am a member of several pretty large investment groups, and one's an all women's investment group, and there's about 3,000 members. And so we're sharing a lot with that from an investor standpoint. Getting that way, because then they're contacting me because I do have the experience and I'm willing to share it, and so I've written books before. I just personally, I don't have the time to do it, and so I'd rather just share with people, and if I can help them, because in the long run, if they're going to come to Pensacola and either come for Airbnb or want to participate and purchase something, then that's fine with me.
Right.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to have the background as an investor yourself to then be able to try to attract investors and work with them with properties you're selling?
I think it's very important. I would say probably 90% of the realtors out there are not investors. The investment route is totally different world. Numbers are the big key. And then depending on the market, like we in Pensacola, we can still be reasonable in housing prices for the investor to make money, whether they're going to flip it or whether they're going to hold it on for passive income or wholesaling or something like that. I know there's a lot of markets in this country that they can't, there's just no way right now because the market is so out of control. I mean, I tell somebody I have a $50,000 house to sell and they say, what are you talking about? I can't even get a driveway for $50,000. So the market's different, but because I'm in a Facebook group where I'm able to share people with those ideas, but then we run the numbers. What's it going to cost you as far as your rehab? We're able to run those numbers. How much can you rent it out for here? Because obviously our rental market's going to be different than someplace else too, because our income level is a little different, even though our rental market's going ballistic worse than our sales right now. So it's, I know this is time sensitive, but it's just a crazy market right now with very small inventory. And so we're out there trying to find as much as we can because the money's there, the investors are there. I'm working with an investor right now who has 65 properties and he's starting to sell them off. So we're doing 6 at a time to sell them off. And they're lower end, but for this area of town, a $65,000 or $75,000 house with $1,000 rental income is a piece of cake. It's a no-brainer.
Right. Well, and if you're selling 65 properties, I mean, hey,
Yeah, that's a chunk of change. And they're all cash. Usually they're cash and they usually take 2 weeks, so it's not a real big, long drawn out thing.
Right. Well, I think that sometimes, maybe the lower price tag associated with some of the properties, people are like, I don't want to get involved in that, but they don't think about the volume that it.
Well, and the other thing is too, unless they're going to specifically also do the property management, because a lot of people, since I have the property management company, they don't want to deal with the property management. Oh, I've tried it before. I lost money. I had bad tenants, blah, 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 blah. So if you take that off their hands, same thing with the Airbnb. Well, how do you get it clean? If you take that off their hands and you show how by putting it in their game plan or their portfolio that, is 10% worth your peace of mind for a rental, property management fee. Well, most of the time it is, so you just take that off because then people will buy in. As long as you keep them happy, they keep you happy. So they'll buy in multiples, So some of my investors, well, the one's got 65, another one's got about 25. And we manage all of those. He doesn't believe in flipping. He just does positive cash flow from a standpoint. So he just comes in and gets checks every week or every month, So I think a lot of people want to get into investing. I got in an early time in the mid 90s, where I got some very nice properties sold at the top of the market in 2006. Went that round again and got them low again and have held on, So right now it's just a little crazy, it's a crazy market right now.
Right. So, and, for the agents that are looking to attract clients like these investors, really being well-rounded and having, like you talked about the understanding the rehab costs, so forming relationships with the contractors and,
right.
All that is so important to be able to take this whole team of people behind you to the presentation.
Correct. No, absolutely. And if you have that, like I have my vendor base, and I've gone through a lot of vendors that are out the door, but I know I can call my HVAC guy at, 5:00 in the afternoon. I'm going to say, I need you, and he's going to come just because of the volume that we do. If someone with, from an agent who wants to get into working with investors, you right now as an agent, you have the MLS, you have properties that are coming out. And so you've got that first choice to look at, or, people who have properties that want to sell them as an investment, that knowing that background and that backup to know the numbers and stuff really helps with the sale part of it. And you'll find a difference in the real estate agents know it. And I hope they do, is that when an investor comes on and wants to sell their property, they have a whole different mindset than just someone who's a first-time home buyer or someone's looking at a second family home or something like that. It's got to make sense to them financially. And if you don't make that, and I've made a couple of goofball moves, which happens when I first got started, but I experimented on myself. So I did a lot with that myself. But by having that experience and displaying that or giving that to the person that you're working with, they're going to come back all the time, and just work with you.
Right. So with your books, have you added in some of those vendors? Have you done that where on like the back parts of it, do you have like a vendor list or anything?
I have not. I actually don't add it. I add a paper part. I don't put it in the book itself. Yeah, but I do have some vendors because I like to rotate out, and I give them 3 choices. But see, the problem is I have to keep them with me too, because if I give too many out, then they're too busy, So I'm working with mine, but I do share them with other people and general contractors, insurance. The whole shebang that you have to be involved with. But I think that also gives you a better overall for your other sales that you're working with your clients, because if someone needs repair work done from a home inspection that they've done for the seller, then I already have people that I can say, okay, we can get this done now. We can, or we do a pre-inspection report so that the seller already has everything repaired or most of it before we even put it on the market. And then that way they can get more money for it without the buyer coming in and wanting a $500 repair that'll cost you $50 from a handyman. So we kind of work that from the seller standpoint too. When we list it, make sure it goes on the market with as little repairs as we have to.
Right. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Sure. Anytime.